What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the RPS Around the Rim NBA DFS show. Again, I am your host, JSU, and I'm bringing back two of my boys. Starting off, we replaced Big T today. He's doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but we got Hoop. So, Hoop, what's going on, brother?
I actually do know what Big T's doing, by the way. He's getting a haircut. So next time you see him, he's going to be looking fresh, and make sure you compliment him on that fresh cleanup. But yeah, we got our three-man booth here. Strong start to the season, man, for our NBA content. I mean, just night after night. I didn't have the best night last night. I actually had a pretty bad night, but it's always rewarding to see the members at RPS have big nights. We had some big dog hits too, some $22,000 hits I saw, a couple $10,000 to $12,000 hits, and it's cool to see like a lot of our members, at first starting to play those low stakes, but now, I mean, these guys are starting to ramp it up a little bit. I got a couple of these big hits, and the amount they're playing for is on the rise. People building their bankrolls. It's a great start to the season. I mean, you guys have been the two that have been behind the playbook. The tournament side of things. Me and Mangone kind of managing the cash side of things, and it's been a good start for people that have subscribed at RPS.
Yeah, no doubt. And guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that thumbs up. That helps us pump out this free content for you guys. But we got AP on as well. AP, me and him man the playbook over at Rumpier Sports. AP, what's going on, man?
Oh, what's going on, JSU? Yeah. Yesterday, for me, I'm kind of with Hoop. I run a similar strategy to you, JSU, where I run out 4 to 5 builds. And, the one I locked in and played Jokic, was the one that smashed for me. I was too heavy. Ben Simmons, he sucks. We'll move off him. That was an absolute disaster. He fouled out.
Wait, what? Quick. Say it again for me real quick.
He sucks. And I've never been I fell too hard into this narrative of the Philly beat writers are stroking him so hard. And I just fell too much in love with that. But the core I built around outside of Simmons was the nuts. I mean, I was real heavy. What's his name from Denver who smashed
Jokic
Jr. Yeah, MPJ, who busted the night before. He was only 22% or so, 22%, and he was had to be over 50, I think, the first day when he busted. So it's nice to see people, taking recency bias really hard and moving off plays like that. And I mean, it's such a smash start to the season. The only thing that's gone wrong for us is probably our website, which we're in the process of fixing right now. So we're boosting up the servers, and hopefully it won't be an issue moving forward. But otherwise, this slate's going to be fun. It's there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm looking forward to breaking it down.
Yeah, and for me last night, MPJ, I just thought he was such a strong play, and it amazed me to see his ownership after just one bad game when he's still super cheap. I mean, on all the sites, he was super cheap, really. But on Yahoo, he was minimum price, and you were getting him at 15 to 20% owned. I mean, he should have been 100% on Yahoo at minimum price. I mean, he's 4,100 on Draftkings. Yeah. I don't understand how this guy wasn't 50% owned. He was 20. It made no sense. Everyone just overreacted to one bad game. And I told you guys, I said it on the show yesterday when I broke down MPJ. I know exactly the type of player he is. If he is not on offensively, he checks out. He doesn't play defense. He doesn't get rebounds. When he is on offensively and he's hitting shots, he's offensive rebounding. And you saw it in the first half. He was dominant, and he was boarding on the defensive end even. This guy needs his offensive game to be on. But when his offensive game is on, he has 30-point upside, real point upside. And that's what you saw from him yesterday. And it's clear that just he's one of those players who he's going to have ups and downs, but he is super talented. And I was shocked at his ownership. But I mean, yeah, we were high on Jokic. I'm sorry. I know Hoop that was his favorite spend up. I know Big T, that was his favorite spend up. I mean, and he smashed. We got some overtime in that game too, which helped, right, Hoop?
Yeah, yep. The overtime help. It's gonna be interesting to see what Malone does when these guys get back, like Barton and Harris, and he's probably gonna prove just how big of a donkey coach he is, and just go back to those guys and probably give Porter Jr. about 15 to 18 minutes a game. I mean, that guy is talented. He needs to be out on the court to give the Nuggets the best chance to win ball games. No faith in Malone making the right decision there, though.
Yeah, I don't know how you can have faith in anything that Mike Malone does. I mean, I'm going to keep saying it. Tony said it yesterday. Bol is like another one of the guys that is just one of their most talented players on the team. And it's like clear when you see this guy play. Is he raw? Does he make some mistakes? Yes, he does. But so does every like young player who's got talent is a little raw. Like they all make mistakes. How this guy in the exhibition scrimmages he's not getting run. I don't understand. This is where you test it out before the playoffs start. Like, I don't get it. It just boggles my mind. But, I mean, let's move on to today's games because we've got a solid slate, 6-game slate starting at 1:30 with the Brooklyn Nets versus the Milwaukee Bucks. We get the Brooklyn Nets here. They're resting, like, pretty much their whole starting lineup, minus maybe one guy or so. I think Tyler Johnson's playing still. But, like, no Karis LeVert, no Jared Allen, no Joe Harris. I mean, Lance Thomas will play. He started last time out. And Tyler Johnson will play. He started last time out as well. But the three guys I mentioned are really the three guys that did everything offensively, boarding. Like, they did the whole, like, all of the usage. So where does all the usage go? And Hoop, I'm going to start with you as the cash guy. When you see something like this, I mean, what are you thinking here? Because you got a terrible Nets team as it is. And then their three best players aren't playing. So now it's really bad.
Yeah. So it's kind of a tale of two sides. Like if you're playing on FanDuel and Draftkings, much different approach. Like on FanDuel, they just didn't adjust these guys and they're all close to the minimum. I mean, yes, they're going to get smashed by the Bucks. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I mean, they're still going to score some points. And when you have the core of the team all around a minimum price, you definitely have to be looking to some of these guys. As difficult as it may be to click on some of these names, but like Tyler Johnson's a guy that kind of stands out. He's 4K on FanDuel. Chioza, I believe, is 3.9K. He's 4K as well. He had a good game. And then you go down. Garrett Temple's 3.7K. What's the dude's name? Kirix, I don't even know if that's how you pronounce his name. Rodion Kirix, he's 3.6K. Like those are the guys that I have. Yeah. Kirix, yeah. So those are the guys that I have the most interest in, and it just forces you into a stars and scrubs approach on FanDuel, which I'm totally fine with. It's going to be the optimal route to go. So it makes it easy to get guys like Harden and Luka in your lineups tonight, and that's definitely what we'll be aiming to do, especially in cash games and in tournaments as well. Then on DraftKings, like they price these guys up. Like Tyler Johnson is 6.6K. Like I'm not paying that. I don't care. Chioza 5.3K. Who else? So Kirix is 4.3K. I think he's playable, assuming he starts. The one guy on DK that I have some interest in. I mean, we have to see. I mean, hopefully we get some more information and more news. But like they picked up Justin Anderson, and he's only 3K on DK. Like, I think you can take a flyer on him. He's a guy that can kind of score, and they're going to need guys to score. So for me, it's a different approach on both sides. Like, I'm not paying 6.6K for Tyler Johnson on DraftKings. On FanDuel, where he's 4K, like, I have a lot of interest in him. He's going to be one of their best offensive players today. So, we don't have the starters yet, I don't think. I haven't seen them. And that will kind of dictate, who's in play and who's not in play for me.
Yeah, big difference in price for a lot of these guys, like Hoop said, on FanDuel and DraftKings. And shout out to Luke Buchanan, who just signed up. Appreciate the sign up, man. Hope you enjoy the content. But I'm kind of with you. Like on FanDuel, I understand playing some of these guys. It's going to be the optimal route if you're like in a cash game setting. Interesting, though, like if you're playing in GPPs, I mean, fading some of these bad players that are going to be chalk. I mean, that is when you want to fade. Like good chalk when they're good players is tough to fade. So you have to make, tough decisions on, because there's normally a few guys that are good chalk that are good players. When we have bad players and we don't really know the minutes, we don't know. They could just give everyone like 20 minutes, 25, 28 minutes. They're still going to probably get smacked. Like these starters aren't going to run out 35 minutes. I don't think. They're only resting 3 guys. I think everyone gets a good mix of minutes. I think Musa sees some minutes. He's 3K on DraftKings. I think it's Dante Hall, center. He saw a few minutes last game. I think it was like 12 minutes last game. Did pretty well in the 12 minutes, had 13 fantasy points. I expect him to play a little bit. Claxton, who I'm surprised he hasn't played. I don't know if he's going to play today. He played during the regular season a few times. And when he played during the regular season, he actually looked pretty good from what I saw. But I don't know about him. So it'll be really interesting to see what they end up doing. But I think on FanDuel, for me, I might try and fade some of these bad players. And, maybe I take one, whoever's my favorite. But I don't know. It might just be my route. But AP, why don't you talk about these Nets value?
Yeah. A quick note. I think Claxton, he's out for the season with a shoulder injury. So
is he out? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this game's kind of a disaster. Like if we haven't gotten any news on the Bucks starters, this has traditionally been a spot to where Coach Bud will counter with Giannis sitting, and then we get a Middleton and Bledsoe type of game, or they set both of them. But we haven't got that news yet. I would monitor it all the way up until lock, because that would obviously change the dynamics of the slate and this game, because it could make it a little bit more playable. But then again, like if they start like this, it's going to be an absolute disaster and it's going to be a blowout. And we could have a situation to where, the Nets, they have 10 or 11 guys potentially that they can play. Like we could see 22 to 28 minutes between all of these guys. And it just looks like a disaster at the end of the game. I will say, Justin Anderson, that call or the mention that the Hoop gave, he put up 50 DK points last year against the Bucks. Who knows what he's going to do today? I don't think he's played a minute since play has resumed with the Nets. So who knows? I'm probably going to sit and wait for news if anything happens. Otherwise, I really just want to avoid this game. I don't feel comfortable about any of these guys. I think since I'm multi-entering, I'll throw in a few random bullets at some of these guys, but overall, I'm going to keep my exposure very low.
Yeah, I like it. From the Bucks side, unless somehow we get information that some of these guys are ruled out, like I don't really trust any of them. So I'm just staying away from that side. I just wanted to make sure I said that. So let's go on to the next game, Dallas versus Sacramento. Obviously Luka is always in play. Dallas also is out without Seth Curry. So that's 30 minutes. I think he played last game, 31 minutes that they're without. Wright saw 25 minutes off the bench, and they have Trey Burke, who I expect to see some minutes, maybe gets bumped into the 20s. And then I think DFS gets, a few extra minutes. I think it kind of rotates around, but Hoop, why don't you start off with this game and talk about anything you like?
Yeah, so in terms of roster construction today, I think in cash games and even tournaments, you're going to want to try to get at least one of Harden or Luka into your lineups. They have the highest upside on the slate, and they both are in really good matchups. You look at the totals in those games, both hovering around 240-ish. The Dallas Sacramento is in the high 230s, and then the Rockets and Trailblazers is around 243 or 244. And, the minutes are just very stable with those guys. And I think you want one of those two. Now, your hope is your opponents play a guy like Giannis, which, I just can't imagine clicking. You touched on it, playing any of these Bucks guys. So the hope is in your contest, people lock in Giannis over Harden or Luka today. And that's a big advantage for you. But I think you're going to want one of those two. Luka's in a phenomenal spot here, like you said, back-to-back 65 fantasy point games. Good matchup here, Sacramento, high pace, high total. He's a premier play in this game. On the other side, I think you can kind of look to Darren Fox has a nice price on DraftKings, like 7.3K, kind of in that mid-range. Isn't going to prohibit you in terms of roster construction at all. Kind of had a stinker last game, but it was a blowout situation against Orlando, so he only played 25 minutes. Game before that, 38 minutes, 55 fantasy points. So if this game remains close, which Vegas predicts, upper 30s for minutes with Fox, I really like that. I really, really like Luka. Like I said, it's going to be Luka or Harden. You're going to want one of those guys, specifically in cash. You can do different things in tournaments, but you're going to want either Luka or Harden, both phenomenal plays on DraftKings. It's a $600 difference, and that could go a long way. Definitely could go a long way on this slate where, as of right now, we don't have a ton of value on DraftKings. Like we said, they priced up all those Nets guys, so there isn't a ton of value. So that $600 could make a big difference. So like Luka, like Fox, and honestly, there's really not a ton else. I'm not seeing any real value that stands out in this game.
Yeah, I mean, these Sacramento players are tough. I mean, outside of Fox, who can you really trust? Yeah. Bogdan gets like 30 minutes. But Fox just has the ball in his hands all the time, and it takes away from Bogdan. It takes away from Buddy Hield. They don't trust Buddy Hield, whether it's just defensively, they just don't trust him out on the floor, but they're giving him like 20 minutes. And then they're playing like Harrison Barnes and Bazemore off the bench. And it's really hard to trust Luke Walton with the rotations outside of Fox. So I think he's the only guy I'm going to look to if I look to anyone from the Sacramento side. And then, I'm with you from the Dallas side. Question, if we did get value, would paying for two studs then be the optimal route in cash?
I always like to get as many studs in as possible. And if we get some value, Indiana, never know with Brogdon and Oladipo, that news continues to be fluid in terms of who's playing and who's not. If we get some value, I definitely want to get as many studs as possible. They're just, the scoring in this bubble has been through the roof. And, when the scores are high, it's typically the studs that are producing the fantasy points. So we want as many of those guys as possible. So I have no problem going double spend here at all.
Yeah. AP, why don't you hit on this game? Anything you like?
Yeah, when I look at this game, the total looks nice on paper. I think it's right around 236 or 236.5. Honestly, when I look at our model and we're projecting kind of a pace down situation for both teams, the Kings have been fine trying to. It depends, trying to predict Luke Walton's rotations is just a disaster. We could see more Bazemore from a defensive perspective. Who knows? But that would also affect the pace big time. And so I actually like the under in this game more so than I just think that the total is inflated when I look at our model and what we have for the projected pace in this game. And you guys know me, I say it time and time again, I hate targeting the Kings. They're so frustrating. Luke Walton's really frustrating. It's very difficult to predict what he's going to do. Now, any one of these guys could go off, like Buddy Hield. If he starts off 4 for 4, you have to imagine that he's going to get his minutes extended. His shot's been off, and his defense has been terrible. And so Luke's been capping him right at 20 minutes. De'Aaron Fox, I wonder if he'll get some traction at 7,300 on DraftKings. I'm not a huge Fox guy. I think he's very talented. It just, again, goes to minutes and predicting this game. And so my take on this, I try to always limit my exposure to the Kings. It's just what I do. I hate playing them. It's just once you're building your lineups and you get to this, you see some of these starters, you see a guy like Harrison Barnes, 4'9", he's the one guy on their team that's going to play minutes. And it looks like a fine play. But what I'm going to try to do is avoid those type of plays, and I'm going to try to cross off as many Kings players as I can. The Mavericks side, they're far more transparent. This team runs through Luka, and it runs through Porzingis right now. Luka at 10-7 is always, he's always in play. He has such a strong floor, and his upside is honestly up there with Harden and the other studs on this slate. I like the last game of the night so much that I'm probably going to reduce my exposure to Luka. And now I'm talking tournaments only. I want to get as much exposure to the late game as possible. So I am personally not going to be prioritizing Luka. I hope that this game gets kind of out of hand. I think the Mavericks could pull away if they're playing good basketball. I just think the Kings kind of, it's a team I don't trust right now. So for me, I'm overall limiting exposure to this game just because I have other games prioritize a little bit higher today on the slate.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm kind of leaning your way as well. So I think we can kind of move on from this game. Next game we got a really interesting game for me, Phoenix versus the Los Angeles Clippers. I really like this game as a pivot if you want to pivot off the Houston-Portland stack, which is clearly going to be the favorite stack of the day. Everyone wants the studs from that game. There's some pieces, a few value pieces maybe you can work to get those studs in and kind of stack this game up very easily. So I think this is the game that I want to pivot to in tournaments, and specifically on FanDuel, very easy to fit in these Phoenix and Clippers guys into a lineup. These guys are very cheap. I mean, Ricky Rubio on FanDuel, what is he, 6K? 6K. Devin Booker, 7.6. DeAndre Ayton, 7.4. I mean, I love these guys. And then Paul George is cheap, 7.6. Kawhi Leonard at 8.6. I mean, I think this game is a really perfect game to kind of pivot off if you are making multiple lineups and you want to kind of be a little more contrarian in tournaments, stacking up this game, because the studs in this game, we got to remember, FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever, on DraftKings, the studs are going to be under-owned in this game because everyone wants Lillard, Westbrook, Harden. Everyone's going to want one or two of those guys in their lineup because of the Houston-Portland stack. So it's going to cause Kawhi Leonard to go under-owned. It's going to cause Paul George, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker. So all these guys are phenomenal plays, and you can stack this game up. I like it as one of my favorites to pivot off of. AP, why don't you start with this game, though?
Yeah, so the Suns, they're coming off 2 nice wins. You got to figure they're going to bring a lot of momentum into this game. They get a tough matchup against the Clippers, who are obviously, playing. They look phenomenal in their last game, blowing out the Pelicans. I mean, it was an absolute disaster on the Pelicans side. So that's always going to be the risk with the Clippers, is if this game gets out of hand early. I think the Suns have enough to keep this one close and to keep it competitive down the stretch. I absolutely like your call with a game stack here. And I think you start with DeAndre Ayton down in the paint. He's 7,500 on DraftKings, which is an extremely nice price. The guy's just an animal. And the thing is the way I want to attack the Clippers is in the paint with a guy like Ayton, who is mobile, who's going to get rebounds, who's going to get easy, really efficient buckets down there in the paint against a guy like Zubac. And I think the Clippers, they don't have a lot of weaknesses, but their one weakness is definitely their front court and their bigs, especially without Montrezl Harrell. I think if Harrell was playing, it would be a little bit more difficult of a matchup, but I don't think Zubac is going to be able to handle Ayton down in the paint. Paul George, again, he's in such a smash spot, and he always ends up as chalk. He's still, I think, priced a little bit too low on DraftKings. So I think you can run a stack back with him. The guy I want to see is Lou Will. He's 5K on DraftKings. I want to see if we get any idea of what his minutes are going to be, because if he sees 28 minutes off the bench in this matchup, he could actually absolutely smash his price. And so I'm going to be interested in what Hoop has to say about Lou Will. He's a guy I love to target and play. And then, the other guy is obviously Devin Booker. I think Ayton is safer than Booker because we're going to get more peripheral stats out of Ayton, but Booker's a guy who can absolutely break a slate. I still am going to prioritize the late game tonight, but I think Booker is interesting. I'm just, if I'm going to get exposure to this game, I want Ayton and I want Paul George, and then I'm looking at Sweet Lou.
Yeah, I mean, Sweet Lou, I think he's still questionable, correct, AP? As of right now? Is he? Yeah. So, I mean, we don't have that right now, obviously, but if he plays and he's getting even 24 minutes at that price tag, I think I'd play him. He just does everything for that second unit. And I mean, it's just too cheap, but Hoop, why don't you hit on the Clippers Suns?
Yeah. I mean, you guys kind of both said what I was going to say. I mean, on FanDuel, these guys are all too cheap. And, it's a 9.5 point spread here. And, that doesn't worry me. Like the Suns, I think, are playing good. They have their core. Everyone's kind of healthy. Like I think they compete in this game. And, on FanDuel, the prices are too cheap. And then even to an extent on DraftKings, like AP touched on, like Paul George at 8.1K. I like that. And even if for some reason it does turn into a blowout, like he's getting there in the upper 20s. If he only plays 27, 28 minutes, he has no problem getting into the mid 40s, which is, enough for his price tag. Kawhi, I think, way too cheap on FanDuel. And, I think he's a fine play on DK at 9.1K. Just good plays here. Like, the total's up. I think other people are going to be prioritizing the other games, that the Dallas game and then the Houston-Portland game, where, these guys might be a little overlooked. If we get news on Lou Williams, that game is, so it's the middle game here, 4 p.m. Eastern. If we get news that Lou Williams is going to be in his normal role and we can expect mid to upper 20s at 5K flat, he's too cheap. So you got to be looking to utilize the late swap ability today. There's no doubt the news will come at some point.
So why wouldn't they play him? All he had to do was quarantine. So I mean, it's not an injury situation.
The only thing I could say is, like, if he wasn't ready, like game shape wise, somehow, but he was before. So I don't know how he wouldn't be. But I'm just saying, like, we don't know what he's been doing. Like, I mean, so we don't know what kind of shape he's in. But maybe that's the only thing. My worry is that they just run him out like 15 minutes. Just to try and ease them back in, because they don't really need to win this game, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, those chicken wings aren't good for conditioning either, Might slow you down on the court.
Best chicken wings ever, he said. Best chicken wings ever. So, I mean, who doesn't love chicken wings? But come on, best chicken wings ever. I will say, if Lou Will does play and he's seeing like the mid-20s minutes, I will have interest. And honestly, like, that makes the game stack even easier, because then you play one of the two high-priced Clippers, you play Lou Will, and then you can play Ayton and Booker and even Rubio if you want to full game stack it. But it definitely makes it easier to fit, like, for DraftKings. For FanDuel, it's easy even without Lou Will. It's very easy to get those guys in. But, guys, we got 255 people in the chat. We got 94 likes. We need to get to that. I want to say 150. That's the goal. We get to 150, get you guys some gear. If we get to 200, we'll get two or three people some gear. So hit that thumbs up button. We really appreciate it. Let's move on to the next game, Orlando versus Indiana. Hoop, I'm going to start with you. What are you thinking on this game? Because I think a lot of people see this game and they see kind of two teams that maybe they play at a slower pace, or they have, two teams that not really known for fantasy, scoring from a lot of different guys. What are we thinking here? Because the price tags on Indiana make some of these guys really interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's tough. We just need, we need the news. I mean, who knows what they're going to do with Brogdon? He played yesterday. Is he going to play today? Wouldn't be surprised if they kind of limit him. Oladipo, I think, is still officially questionable. I'm guessing he plays, but that kind of muddies the water a little bit for Indiana if both those guys do play. The one thing I will say is, holy TJ Warren, like, what the hell is going on? Back-to-back 70 fantasy point games for TJ Warren.
Is he the best player in the bubble?
Man, I mean, so far, yeah. On? I mean, so TJ far, Warren. I mean, so on DK is 8K. On FanDuel, I think they dropped his price to like 6.4K. So have to imagine that he's going to be very popular on FanDuel. I mean, back-to-back 70 spots, price tag still under 7K. Like, people are going to play him, and rightfully so. Only 6.4K, just playing phenomenally well. Like, just and doing everything, just really aggressive, scoring, rebounding, getting some blocks, getting some steals. So he's going to be very popular over there on DraftKings. He's priced up to 8K. You got to make some sacrifices if you want to get him in. So, on that side, it's going to be tough. We need the news. One thing I will say is the captain pointed out last night that Orlando's actually playing, I mean, small sample size, only a couple games in here, but the 8th fastest pace in the bubble. So That's something to consider. On their side, I like Vooch. I think Vooch is a great play, but I really don't think I can go anywhere else. Like Vooch would be the only guy I consider here. It's a team that have a lot of guys that can contribute. No prices really stand out. So it's just Vooch for me on the Orlando side. And we need the news on the Pacers to see, if Brogdon and Oladipo don't play, then TJ Warren's fine at 8K, and then we'll have some other values as well, but definitely need the news before we can make any definitive calls on them.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you on that. AP, what are you thinking on this Orlando-Indiana game?
Yeah, real quick with just, the players. So it was announced that Oladipo wasn't going to play back-to-back, so that's why he was sitting out.
Yeah, so he'll play tonight. Then.
He's playing. And then Brogdon, I'm telling you guys, he just slept on his pillow. I said it yesterday. He slept on his pillow wrong. He had a neck strain. He played 35 minutes yesterday. I see no reason why he's not going to play his normal role tonight. If it was a different type of injury, then yeah, I'd be concerned, but it was just a neck sprain. So I think both guys play, and at their price, 5.4K on DraftKings for Brogdon, 5.9 for Oladipo. I think those price tags are really interesting. Honestly, they feel like safe plays. Oladipo saw 32 minutes in his first game. So we got to project him for just under 32 minutes. So we got to think that he's going to play 30 plus. I don't care what the matchup is. Oladipo under 6K playing 30 plus minutes is always going to be interesting and attractive for me. Same with Brogdon. He's got the peripheral stats, and he can get there raw scoring too. So it just it comes down to TJ Warren. Is he gonna do what he's been doing with all these other guys back? It's kind of hard pressed. I don't personally like for a player to just do that back to back and then to come out again and put up those type of numbers is just you rarely see it. So yeah. I'm probably off TJ Warren. I might add in a tournament just to play him just in case, so I don't miss out. But my stance is honestly, I'm probably not going to play him, but it's been incredible what he's been doing. I do have a lot of interest in Brogdon and Oladipo, and the way I want to run it back, I love doing little mini game stacks. I love predicting how game flow is going to go. And I think Nikola Vucevic is just in a smash spot. He's under 8K on DraftKings. He's been playing really well. If that game against the Kings had stayed closer, he was on pace to absolutely break the slate. He put up 46 DraftKings points in 23 minutes. So, and I love playing bigs against this Pacers team. So I'll go there. And with the injury situation they have, I think guys like Terrence Ross off the bench are kind of interesting. This tournament play only. I'm not a huge fan of playing the Magic, but they are playing at a faster pace. Terrence Ross has been a guy, he's shot dependent, but if he catches fire, he's definitely a guy that can get there. And same with Michael Carter-Williams. If we're looking for like a deep tournament type play, he's going to get more run off the bench. And he's a guy that can get there with peripheral stats and raw scoring. And so I think this is an interesting way to round out some of my builds, because I know I'm going to have a ton of exposure to the late game. And I'm going to mix in some guys from this game and from the Suns and Clippers game. That's kind of how I'm going to approach it.
Yeah, for sure. So interesting on FanDuel. Again, we go back to FanDuel. They just decided to forget about what happened the last couple days and drop TJ Warren's price to 6,400. Yeah. So over there, I'm playing TJ Warren. Like, I don't care at 6,400. Like, it is just way too cheap. I'm not going to spend up for Giannis, obviously, today. As we already said, we're not on Giannis. I don't understand it. I'm going to play him over there. 8K on DraftKings. Now that makes me think. If I'm full stacking the game, maybe I have TJ Warren in the stack because I'm full stacking. I'm kind of like going in on this game. But if I'm just taking pieces, I'm definitely going to have Brogdon or Oladipo or just like a mini stack of both. And the one guy on FanDuel that's too cheap is Aaron Gordon from Orlando. He's 5,600. Power forward is not a very strong position. So I think over there on FanDuel, I will play some Aaron Gordon, where I'm not going to pay, I think it's 7,400 or something like that on DK for Aaron Gordon. But on FanDuel, I will. And then Vooch. I mean, like, Vooch is the one guy from the Orlando side that I think everyone has to have interest in. Thomas Bryant just dropped 21 and 10, I think, on this on the same Pacers team. Miles Turner, slow foot Turner, just can block shots, but he can't move his feet. And Vucevic, he could dominate him down low. So I don't mind playing Vucevic here. On DK, especially where you can play two centers. I think Vucevic is very viable. On FanDuel, I think I would still, I do like Ayton and Nurkic just a little more. But if I'm doing a game stack on FanDuel, I'm going to want Vucevic in my game stack. So he'll definitely be on if I end up doing a game stack of this game. But that's really it for me. Let's move it on to the next game. We got Boston versus Miami. Interesting game here. Miami's got some cheap guys on DK, especially, Tyler Hero, Kelly Olynyk, who's had 2 good games in a row. Jay Crowder, I think he's 4,600. So they got some cheap pieces. I don't know about the studs. Jimmy Butler, to me, on DK has a solid price tag. I don't mind him. Probably off of Bam today. The only way I'd see playing Bam is on FanDuel, where power forward, like I said, is weak. And then the Celtics guys. At small forward on FanDuel, you got Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward. Right now, Gordon Hayward looks better than Jaylen Brown to me, just in these couple exhibition games that I've seen. But both these guys are in play just because small forward, again, another weak position. They're both priced decent, but this is a tough Miami team. Why don't you start out talking about this game, though?
Yeah, for me, the one thing that definitely stands out, especially on DraftKings, is the price on Jimmy Butler. Like 7.2K almost seems like a free square to me, especially in cash games. Like in cash games, you're playing Jimmy Butler at 7.2K. In tournaments, he's got to be in play. He has the 50 fantasy point upside. It's kind of a crazy price to me. It's the one price that stands out the most to me on DK. For sure. Like I don't see why he's priced at 7.2K. So I'll definitely be playing him. And then the value, like Tyler Hero at 3.1K. Like, yeah, I definitely have some interest in Hero. Playing these punts goes a long way, especially when you have a couple games that have totals in a game in the high 230s and a late hammer game that's sitting at like 244. Makes it easy to get some of these studs in those big games. So I definitely have interest in Tyler Hero. And then the Boston guys are a little bit too cheap on FanDuel. Like you said, like Gordon Hayward at 6.1K is probably my favorite small forward over there. Jaylen Brown is cheap as well. Be interesting to see what they say. Have you guys heard anything on Kemba Walker in terms of his minutes still limited?
Not yet. I haven't heard anything about. I would assume that they give him a little bump, right? Because they said they gradually want to increase his minutes.
Yeah.
And he went from 18 or 19 to 22. So
I got him at like 24 to 26, possibly.
Yeah. So if that's the case, I have interest on FanDuel. He's only like he's 4.7K on FanDuel. So if he's going to play like mid 20s, I think he's a guy to consider over there. And, maybe we get some clarification on that prior to tip. But like I said, if he's in the mid to, if he's 25 minutes with the potential to get to like 27, he's just way too cheap. So I definitely have some interest in him over. That's FanDuel specific though. So yeah, a few plays here. Butler on DK, by far my favorite.
What about Jason Tatum, who's better than Ben Simmons?
I do agree with that take, but I don't know if I'll be going there today. I want these studs in the other games.
Whenever I can throw a dig in on Ben Simmons, I have to go for it. I can't.
I'm glad we're on the same team.
Oh, yeah, me too. Guys, we need like 8 or 9 more likes to get up there. We're going to give out some free swag to a few of you guys. So let's get up to that 150 number. Get over that 200 number if we can. We'll give out even more. We got 286 people right now watching live, minus a few trolls. So, I mean, that, even if there's 10 trolls, we got like at least 270 or so people that are watching it that dig it.
And the haters.
And even the trolls are listening to the advice. Trust me, they'll say they aren't, but they are. So, I mean, that's why they're here. Yeah, that's fine. Give us the thumbs down. You're okay, but we know you're listening. Don't worry.
The trolls are they're out strong today, boys. They're out super strong, and that's a good sign though. That's a good sign because they see what the RPS team's doing.
Our RPS chat is in there. We're strong too. So I think we're winning this battle right now. I will say, but let's move on.
They hate to see it, boys. They hate to see the success.
They hate to see it. Screenshot life for our PS guys. We're sending out all the screenshots, people. So just throw them, our way, and we'll say if you're comfortable with it. Obviously, we'll send them out. Screenshot life. So let's move on. We got.
You don't want my thoughts?
Did you hit on this? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't love this game, so it's fine.
I want to hear though. I want to hear your take on these cheap Miami guys, though. Yeah, because I think there's a few of them. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so we're quick on the Boston side. I'm not playing Kemba's 6'4". Honestly, if the matchup was better, I get it, but I'm not playing him. Jason Tatum, he bounced back in a really strong way with 58 DK points against the Blazers. That matchup was just phenomenal, though. Now we get a Miami team that's just really elite defensively, and so I don't want to pay 8-3 for him when I could go to some of these other better spots and pay a little bit more for a guy like Dame Lillard. Or pay the same price for, CJ McCollum and such a good, pace up type of game. And so I'm going to be off the Boston side. I like the calls and some of this value on the Heat side. So Kelly Olynyk, I always like playing him against Boston, his former team. He's been playing more minutes too, right around, I think 28 minutes, 24 to 28 minute range. So at 3.8K, I really like what he's been doing off the bench. Goran Dragic is another guy too that's been playing really well. Here's my idea. Okay, this is what I'm going to do today in one of my main tournament squads. I'm going to play Sweet Lou. He's 5K on DraftKings. If for some reason news comes out that he's limited to like 20 minutes max or lower, or that he doesn't play, I can easily pivot to Goran Dragic right there at 5K. So and that game starts later, and so it's a really easy pivot. And so that's going to be one of the moves and how I handle that Lou Will situation. But the Tyler Hero 3-1, I mean, this guy can, he can, if he starts draining threes, it's going to be interesting. I would say my only concern is Boston is pretty good at defending the perimeter, and he's not a guy that's going to create his own shot. He needs to get open, and so I think it's going to be a little bit tough for him. But 3.1K, he's been playing well. He's going to see minutes. I do think it makes a lot of sense, especially if you're paying up for multiple studs. I mean, if he gets you 18, 20 points and you have two studs that go off, you're going to be sitting real pretty on the slate. So I'm pretty much in line with you guys. I'm probably avoiding the Boston side for sure.
Yeah, it's like when Tyler Johnson was 3.2, a couple slates ago. I mean, you could have played Tyler Johnson. He got you 20 points or whatever it was, 23 or 20. And you could have shipped with Tyler Johnson in your lineup. So, you can easily ship if Tyler Hero gets you that 18 to 22 points at his price tag, because it just helps you get in multiple studs, like AP said. So I don't mind that strategy, and I don't mind Hero. It's definitely not the easiest matchup, right? Both these teams are very solid teams, especially defensively. But the price tags just make some of these guys more intriguing. But let's move on. We've got the final game. This is the most popular game. Everyone knows it. Houston versus Portland. Everyone wants multiple pieces from this game. I will say it again. It is definitely the best game to stack, but it will be the most popular game. And if you want to take down a big GPP, you either got to be a little contrarian with who you go with in your stack, or you're not as heavy on it. Maybe you have one or two. You have a little mini stack or something, like one or two guys, but you don't have this game as a full stack, because this game is going to be very popular. But AP, let's start with you. I know you love this game. What are you thinking from the Houston Portland?
Yeah, I absolutely love this game. I mean, the total is just rising. We have two teams that just sprint back and forth, and they play no defense. So we're definitely going to like that. And the thing is I like the Blazers side more, and the reason is because they are playing every single minute that they can handle. Like Dame Lillard might play every minute tonight. Like he's been playing just 40 minutes a game. Same with CJ McCollum. Even Yusuf Nurkic has been playing 34 or right around the 32 to 33 minute range. So I love this side of it. I think Dame Lillard could break the slate tonight. I think he could go 7x, 70 DraftKings points. I think Nurkic could also put up something big, 55, 60 like we've seen. And so I absolutely love those guys. And I just, when I look at this, you have Westbrook and Harden on the other side. Both are really elite plays, but both tend to, at times limit, we'll see games where Westbrook goes off and Harden doesn't. And then we'll see games where Harden goes off and, Westbrook is just a little bit behind. They're not like busting by any means. They're just not hitting that ceiling that we need in tournaments. I'm far more confident in stacking against them with like a Dame Lillard and Yusuf Nurkic combo. And then maybe bringing it back with someone like House, like we did in the game that we saw against who they play last time, the Bucks. So I'm going to take a kind of similar strategy to what we did with the game against the Bucks. The other way I like to stack this is with Russell Westbrook. I think it's just a little bit easier. If you combo, I haven't played around to see if it works, but I'm really interested to see if like a Yusuf Nurkic, Dame Lillard, Westbrook stack works. If it does, if I can find the value to make that work, I think that'll be a little bit interesting. And then, Harden, I mean, it's another smash spot for Harden. I'm just going to have to, it's not like I'm playing 150. I'm playing, 3 to 5 main tournament teams. And I just, at this moment, I feel a little bit more confident in the Blazers side, being able to get me more than what a build would be without them and with like a Harden in there, if that makes sense. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I love the Blazers side of this game.
Yeah, and before we get to Hoop, I just want to reiterate something that I talked about, I think like the very first show we had, about the importance specifically of the Portland Trail Blazers. They are in the 9th seed. They're 2 games back pretty much. Memphis just lost again last night. This is a huge game for them. They can get within 1 game of the Grizzlies. They really need this win. They're going to play their guys, like AP said, 38 to 40 minutes. Like the Dame, CJ, those guys are going to get 38 to 40 minutes. Like they're going to play as much as possible. They'll see very little time on the bench unless there's like foul trouble or something. So you can't argue with them as plays. I think CJ McCollum's a little better play on FanDuel at 7,300, where, on DraftKings is 8,200. I think Dame Lillard is in play on both sites, and he's a great play. I agree with AP. Yusuf Nurkic is a really strong play as well. He's probably my favorite Trailblazer if I had to pick one, just because I think he can dominate. But the one thing I do like from the Houston side is they're going to stretch the floor. They're going to push Nurkic out. He's not going to be able to stand in the paint. These driving lanes are going to be wide open. Harden, Westbrook, they're going to take advantage of these guys off the dribble. It's going to lead to a bunch of open threes from Covington, PJ Tucker, because they're going to have to leave them wide open. So when you're stacking this game, to be a little different, I mean, you got to play some of these complementary pieces. And I think, that's the way to do it from the Houston side. But Hoop, why don't you talk on it a little bit? Who's your favorite stud, first of all, in this game?
Well, I mean, you should know me well enough you should know me well enough by now. You know where I'm going. Like, obviously, right. James Harden. I'm boring okay. When it comes to this stuff.
But wait, so when you look at Harden, like on DraftKings, obviously you see that he's 11-3, and then Westbrook is 1,900 cheaper. I mean, does that, even for cash, do you care about that? Like, does that make the difference for you?
No, because to me, it's like Westbrook's ceiling game most likely is in the 60s, and Harden's ceiling game is probably like in the 80s, like in this spot. And he's crushed Portland. Someone mentioned that in chat. No, these teams aren't playing any defense here. It's going to be tons of minutes. And honestly, I think what AP touched on is the optimal approach for GPPs, because I can tell you right now, based on, just knowing the NBA and knowing DFS and where the trends tend to be, the Rockets guys are going to be a lot higher owned than the Portland guys. Westbrook's going to be much higher owned than Lillard. Harden's going to be the highest owned. So getting on Portland here, I think, is what you want in tournaments. Daniel House is going to have ownership. I think the Portland side is what you need to be focusing on in GPPs, because Harden and Westbrook are going to be very high owned. Yes, Lillard will have some ownership. Nurkic will have some ownership, but it's not going to be nearly the ownership that Harden and Westbrook have. So you definitely in tournaments want to make sure I think you prioritize the Portland side of this game because I don't think the ownership's going to be as high. They're going to have the same amount of playing time, if not more. Like, look how much Lillard's played. Like you guys both touched on. He's played a ton, and they need to win. So love the Portland side for tournaments. Love the Houston side for cash games. Want a lot of exposure here, and I think it's definitely worth it to take some risk on some of those cheaper guys. We touched on Tyler Hero, 3.1K. Yeah, he has a low floor, but man, if it can get you a 85 fantasy point game from Harden, it's worth it. Same with the Olynyk. Like playing Olynyk, yeah, he does have a floor, and it is low. But if the studs in this game go off, it's not going to matter if they bust. So prioritizing this game is something you need to be doing on the slate. It's going to be a bad feeling if you're looking at your teams and you have not much player minutes remaining in this game, because I can tell you one thing: your winnings are going to be going down rapidly.
Yeah, for sure. This game is, you can't argue that this game is clearly the top game to, be on and stack. Just from a game theory perspective, though, if somehow this game were to bust, what's the only, a blowout, right? Like that's the only way, right? So
and one side would probably be decent.
Yeah, because Portland's not going to just give up. This game is very important to Portland. Now, maybe Houston, I don't even think Houston would give up. Like, Harden would still be in there down 20 in the end of the third quarter. So,
that's why this game's so good.
Interesting, this year they played each other 3 times. And I will say, Westbrook has had the better of this team to Harden all 3 times pretty much. Westbrook's averaging 68 DraftKings points in 3 matchups. Harden's averaging 43. I'm not saying that he's better than Harden, but what I think happens is, let's be honest, Harden's amazing, but Westbrook, when he takes people off the dribble and he wants to attack the rim all the time. And when you can get Nurkic out of the middle or Whiteside or whoever they have in there, which they can because they're going to play small, it's going to give wide open lanes for Westbrook to just run right by his man and dunk. And Portland's guards are not good defensively. They're amazing offensively, but they are not good defensively. And I think this is a game where Westbrook and Harden, they're just going to attack the rim nonstop. You're going to see James Harden go to the foul line a ton. You're going to see Westbrook dunk the ball a ton, just get into the hole constantly. So I love these guys. I think I'm going to take the savings, though. If I had to pick one, I don't think I'll be able to get them both together. So I think I will take the savings with Westbrook. I think a lot of people are going to spend up the Harden because they're going to be able to if we get some good value. And it looks like we just got one because Crawford is active, boys. I don't know if you guys saw that. Let's wrap this game up. AP, do you have any other thoughts on this game before we go back to the Crawford news?
No other thoughts. It's just I'm definitely gonna be making sure I have exposure to this game. I'm gonna run a few different stacks. I love the Lillard to Nurkic stack for sure. That's probably gonna be in my main build. And then I agree with you. Russ is I think the best way to run it back. I will say Gary Trent's another guy that's been playing really well off the bench. He's been playing off the bench, but he's actually seen some decent minutes in there. I'm not touching Carmelo Anthony. I'm not touching Whiteside or any of these other pieces. Blazers, they've been running really tight rotation.
Yeah, Gary Trent's interesting because Houston they're going to play small, and Gary Trent seems like that guy coming off the bench that they like the most. And if this game does go small at any point, I could easily just see Gary Trent sliding in there. If Nurkic gets in foul trouble, they could just go small and bring him in there. So, that's really interesting. I like that call. But guys, let's circle back. And before we do that, guys, we got 174 or 175 likes. We need 25 more to get to that 200 spot. Hit that thumbs up. We got 342 people watching Hoop. 342 right now, live.
Despite all the haters, people are still coming for the advice.
Minus the 10 trolls and Big T. So, because Big T's in there, he doesn't count. But, everyone else, hit that thumbs up. We're going to give some RPS swag, away at the end of the show. So we're going to give multiple people we're gonna give out some. I'm not gonna hold back here. We're not gonna give it to just 2 people. We're gonna give it to at least 3. So hit that thumbs up.
We need to get Big T on here so we can see that sexy face after that fresh haircut, man. I want to see how he's looking.
Yeah, Big T, if you're in the chat still, you're welcome to hop on and show us that mug. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I think the chat would love it too.
We call it the panty dropper.
All right, let's hit that thumbs up, guys. So let's move back to the Crawford news. I mean, this is big news, right? Jamal Crawford obviously is going to be their top option to score the ball when he's in there. That's clear, right? What are we doing though with him? He's 4,700 on DraftKings. So they kind of prepared for this a little bit. He's not like 3K, right? They bumped him up a little, but he's clearly their best player now. So Hoop, what are you thinking with Jamal Crawford?
Man, I don't know. We definitely got to do some digging, and hopefully we get some sort of insight into the type of minutes that we can expect. He's 47. I mean, he's got to do something at 47, and I just don't know how much he's going to play. So I mean, there definitely is some risk. Got to do a little more digging on it. I'm assuming on FanDuel he's probably the minimum. Let's see.
Let me give you a scenario while you're looking.
3-8.
So wouldn't you pretty much assess him the same way you assess Lou will? Like if he's getting you 24 minutes, he's in play, right? Just because he can do it in 24, right? Am I right? He's going to have the ball in his hands when he's out there.
He's going to shoot.
He's going to chuck
so often. He's going to be chucking.
Yeah.
He's going to be chucking. So, I get, like I said, got to dig a little bit. We'll put some more thoughts into the Discord and the playbook in regards to Jamal Crawford. But it makes it a little more interesting. There's no doubt.
Yeah. AP, what are you thinking? Yeah. I mean, so Coach Bud came out and said that Eric Bledsoe, Pat Conn will play, quote, pretty low, reasonable minutes. So I mean, I just think what we see is like these starters will get to play 15 to 22 minutes, maybe something like that. Maybe 20 minutes. I think it's just I think it's going to be a blowout, but I think Jamal Crawford's going to get some run, and when he's going to be in there, he's going to be chucking. So I think it's very similar play to like a Lou Will, for sure. And so I like it. I'm going to look deeper into it, but it's definitely catching my eye for sure.
Now this, and guys, we need 10 more likes. Let's get there. But this to me is again another scenario where I think people, if we don't get solid confirmation, like he's gonna just play off the bench or he doesn't have a minutes limit, that doesn't mean he's gonna see 30 minutes, right? But just saying like he doesn't have a minutes limit. I think that fear again of people not knowing, is this guy just gonna see 10 to 15 minutes or is he gonna see 20 or 25? I think that's gonna creep in a little bit, which may keep him down in ownership. And if that does, it's like a perfect spot, like something that I like to attack, and I like to take risks. And this would be a risk that I would take in tournaments. Again, if you're making one lineup, this is totally different because it's probably not the play for you unless we get solid confirmation on minutes. But if you're making a couple lineups, it wouldn't kill you to take a shot in a Jamal Crawford. You could, if he's coming in at, decent ownership, lower ownership, that's where you get different. And then you can kind of just play whoever else you like and hope he runs out there and plays 20, 25 minutes. And if he does, he's taking double-digit shots easily, 100%. So,
and one thing's for certain, if with Jamal Crawford in, that's a bump down for basically every other Nets player that you were considering. I mean, that's a lot of shots that those guys will no longer be taking.
Yeah, that is a very good point. So, I mean, big point there. Good, really good from that standpoint too. I think the Nets for me, honestly, I'm going to look at Jamal Crawford, maybe one of their bigs, and that might be it. I don't know, maybe Justin Anderson at 3K, like you said. But outside of that, I think I might just try and fade it and, hope they just all kind of get around 20 to 24 minutes. And no one goes crazy, right? Outside of like maybe, hopefully, the one guy that I pick of those guys. So, that's my goal anyways. So that's what I'm going for. Guys, we need 2 more likes or 1 more like. I'm sorry. Let's get that 1 more like. We got 351 people in here. I'm trying to give out some free swag, RPS swag. You got the t-shirts. I don't know if you guys can see clearly the t-shirt, and then Hoop's got, I think, the polo and the hat on. I mean, this is the stuff. This is some good quality stuff too. Big T made sure this is the good stuff right here. So, and boom, we're over that 200 mark.
There it is.
We're all going to pick someone to get some RPS swag. I might even pick 2 because you know what? I don't care what Big T says. I make my own rules on this show. So, let's do that, guys. AP, why don't you scroll and see who you land on?
Let's see. I am landed on. Let me look away. Let's see. This Brijal Pato.
Oh, he had a big win last night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a big win. Now he gets the swag. He's running. He's running
I
pure.
butchered the name, but
he's running pure.
No, he just said don't land on a troll. Like he's about to find out.
I was worried about that.
On him.
I was really
landed on him, man. I love it. Let's go. All right.
Ready?
So, Brijal, make sure you hit up, Big T or someone in Discord or on Twitter. Go Hoop.
All right. Let's see. I landed on Michael Steinig. So get in touch on Twitter or Big T, and get us your sizes. We'll get you some stuff. So Michael Steinig.
All right. I'm gonna pick 2 because, like I said, I don't care about Big T's rules. I make my own rules. And we go. Okay, I just picked Wacko954 TV. He said me. So perfect. It's you. So Wacko954 TV. Hit up one of us on Discord, and then we'll go one more little scroll here. I landed on Brijal Paddle too. So he already won. So let's do this again here. Roger Chung is the other guy. So make sure you hit up one of us. Try and hit up Big T in Discord if you're in Discord, or on Twitter, Big T44. And he will send that out to you guys, all of you guys. Probably this end of the week he'll send it out. But yeah, so you'll get it probably next week or something like that. But there you go. Boys, I think we pretty much touched on the whole slate. I mean, let's do this. Let's finish out. Give me one guy, not someone at the top, someone you really like to have a really strong day, break the slate, but not one of these like, don't give me Harden or Luka or Westbrook. Like, give me someone different. AP, we'll start with you.
I'm giving you Dame Lillard then. The guy that in this range that should go lower on. He's going for 70 plus tonight.
Yeah, you love some Dame. All right. Who you got?
Sticking with that team, I said that's the team I want to be on in tournaments, and it's going to be Mr. McCollum, CJ McCollum. I think he has a big game here.
All right. I don't mind that. My guy is DeAndre Ayton. Give me some bounce back DeAndre Ayton. He hurt some people last time out. I think he comes back in a strong way. I think he does really well against this Clippers team. And the price tag is it's way too cheap too on both sides. Like 7,400 is just, that's just so good for DeAndre. And he's and 75 on DK too. So I like him. I'm going to definitely have a bunch of DeAndre in. But guys, I think that's going to do it for us. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. For me, JSU, I was going to say Big T, AP, Hoop,